Welcome. Thank you for joining me here at Studio B for a short practice to loosen up your joints and to energize your system, get the chi flowing, waking you up, energizing you in a simple and effective way. Come to stand with your feet hip distance apart, feet parallel, and balancing your weight between the right and the left leg. And balancing between your toes and your heels until you feel like you're really standing balanced right in the center. You can then bring your right foot behind you, and it may be nice to have a blanket under your toes, so you're curling the toes under, and then begin to rotate the ankle. And so the foot is behind you so that the femur bone, the thigh bone, is hanging straight down. And so the knee doesn't come in front of the other knee. And this way the hip flexors can relax and the joint is in a neutral, the hip joint is in a neutral position. So nice loose rotations in the ankle just to increase stimulation in the leg. And then reverse. If you feel wobbly, of course, you can just hold on to a wall or a chair. So this is not about balancing. Noticing your breath. And then pause and step your foot back, and you may notice a difference now between your right and your left foot. Maybe the right foot feels a little bigger or more alive. And then bring your left foot behind, toes are curled under, and circle the ankle. And this may feel challenging or a little awkward if you've never done this before. Ankles tend to get stiff if they're not used this way often. So just go back to this practice regularly so the ankles will loosen up. And then reverse. The change will come pretty quickly with a regular practice like this. Again, noticing breath. And then step your foot back and noticing both feet grounded. And then begin to make circles with your nose and chin. Relaxing your jaw, so maybe leave your mouth slightly open. Rather than dropping the head back, the circles are quite shallow. If you're drawing a circle in the space in front of you with your nose. And reverse. And pause in the center. Roll your shoulders forward. Let the arms just be nice and loose. Using your shoulder blades as well. So loosening up the whole shoulder, girdle. That's such a hard word. Maybe exhaling a few times through the mouth. And reverse. A lot of chi gets stuck in the shoulders, so it's good to loosen up the shoulders every day. And then pause. Bring your palms together, wrists, and if you can, also elbows together. Interlace your fingers. And then begin to swirl the wrists. You're making figure eights And let it be nice and loose. There are 8 little joints in the wrists, so there's a lot to move there. So you're giving some stability by keeping the wrists together. Then reverse. It may feel a little tricky, so make sure you're still breathing. Checking if indeed you're going in the opposite direction. And then as you release that, arms come back by your sides. Take your feet slightly wider than your hips. Keep your legs still and your hips still. You're gonna make some twists just from the waist up, very small, just in the upper body. Arms can flap around you. You could look over your shoulder if that works for your neck. But really make sure that you keep your hips as still as possible so there's no pulling on the knees. And this movement is intended to loosen the pericardium, the little protective sac around the heart that protects the heart physically from pathogens and energetically from heartache, if you will. So imagine here that you're relaxing the chest area, softening your heart space. Maybe exhaling a few times through the mouth, or maybe some yawns escape. And then let your movement slow down. Just organically letting the movements come to pause. Keeping your legs and your spine straight now, begin to move the pelvis in circles. As if you're drawing a circle with your tailbone on the floor below you. The spine staying straight, the legs staying straight. The movement is happening in your hip joints. You may feel here how the top of the thigh bone, the femur, is moving in the hip socket. Keeping the crown of your head reaching up towards the ceiling. The arms are just hanging loose. And reverse. Noticing that perhaps different direction feels differently. And then slowly coming back to center, taking your feet and your knees together. So if you have one leg, and bend your knees, let your hands rest on your upper thighs. And with your knees together, start to make small circles. Knees stay bent. Relax your toes, relax your shoulders. And reverse. And then pause and straighten the legs. Take your feet hip distance apart. Again, I'm just turning so you can see from the side. A slight bend in the knees. The last movement is for the spine. Each movement starting from the tailbone. The tailbone starts behind you. And then draw it under you and let the spine ripple. So there is a movement in the lower back and the upper back. It's this wave-like motion. Imagining that you're flushing chi through your spinal cord. From the tailbone all the way up to the crown of your head. The arms hang loose and they may start to move on their own just because you're moving your spine, but you're not actively doing anything with the arms. The knees stay bent and soft. And the less you think about this, the easier it is. Let the body move itself. Each movement starting with the tailbone. Just a few more. Exhaling. And then slowly come back to stillness, straightening the legs and the spine. You can lower your gaze to the ground or close your eyes if that's comfortable and notice the effects of this sequence called Dasha Chalana. Maybe you feel more awake, energized. You may feel your heart beating. You can even feel perhaps tingling sensations as chi and blood is moving around in your system. And take a nice deep breath in and let it go as you exhale. And slowly open your eyes if they were closed. Hope this was helpful. I recommend doing this practice several times a week, maybe even daily. Thank you for joining me here today.